I think it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Yeah.
What's very interesting is it really doesn't start. The conversations don't start until March because there's so
Yeah.
much that has to get figured out with the playoffs, the Super Bowl, the coaching staffs all have to get reset, and then you kind of start to look at, okay, where are we going?
You have partnered with Tostitos ahead of the Super Bowl. So, what can you tell us about the Toast by Tostitos campaign?
Yeah, so thanks for asking.
Yeah.
Tostitos has been an official partner of the NFL for a long time. They're the official chip and dip, and they go together with football so well.
Yeah.
As anybody watching football knows, having their chips and salsa. So this year at Super Bowl, they're doing it bigger than ever. They're doing a pop-up restaurant that they're calling Toast by Tostitos, and they're getting their Frito-Lay chefs to come in and use Tostitos chips as the base ingredient and come up with a lot of culinary creations that will make this entire menu at the restaurant. And I'm going to be there with them, preparing and serving to the fans who come. So you can make a reservation to come to this free restaurant in Vegas on the Strip at the New York Hotel. You can reserve at toastbytostitos.com. And you can also enter for a chance to win tickets to the Super Bowl and obviously a trip to Vegas and then a chance to meet me at the restaurant. And that sweepstakes can all take place on Instagram if you go to the Tostitos page and then post using the hashtag Toast by Tostitos and hashtag entry. So, really fun that Tostitos is kind of picking it up a notch this year around Super Bowl week and doing this pop-up restaurant. I'm excited to see it and kind of excited to see what these chefs can whip up using Tostitos. And should be a lot of fun to interact with the fans.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun. And I recently heard about the Toast by Tostitos restaurant. I think it's a really great idea. And with you being a chef and a server, for you, is cooking something you like to do during your free time?
I like to eat food. I don't love to cook.
Yeah.
So I usually ask for the help of my wife or the help of delivery services. But that's why chips and dip are such a natural fit for me because it doesn't take much cooking or preparation.
Yeah.
But I will say I'm coachable. So getting around the Frito-Lay chefs, having them on my hip, I know I can follow directions. So I'm excited to kind of take their lead and see what we can come up with. And maybe I can give them a few ideas to get them thinking differently too.
Oh, of course. Yeah, you definitely have to do that. But, obviously, Tostitos has been a big part of the NFL and the Super Bowl, as you mentioned. But when it comes to, watching the Super Bowl and Super Bowl parties, what are some of your favorite dishes that you like to serve during the Super Bowl?
I'm simple. I like
Yeah.
the basic staples, chips and dip, wings, pizza. My in-laws for many, many years have done a Super Bowl party with the same group of friends. And what they do is they serve the food of the two teams' cities who are playing in the game.
Mm,
So when New England was in all those Super Bowls, they served a lot of clam chowder. But
yeah.
something fun like that, I think, is a cool idea. But for me, it's hard to beat Tostitos chips and dip just because of the simplicity of it all.
Yeah, you're totally right about that. And speaking of cities, we're down to 8 cities when it comes to NFL teams. The divisional round of the playoffs starts this upcoming weekend. But which teams do you see making the Super Bowl, which will be played in Las Vegas?
What a great question. I wish I could give you a better answer, but I'm about as
Yeah.
ignorant as everybody else. I didn't see the Cowboys getting upset. So it's interesting to see how it all plays out. I think that's part of the fun of it is knowing that just about any one of these teams has a realistic path to the Super Bowl. And we very well may see two teams who haven't been in the Super Bowl in a long time. And that could be really good for pro football. So I'll be excited to follow it just like the rest of America.
Yeah, absolutely. And two of those teams, with the Minnesota Vikings, two of the teams, the Packers and the Lions, both in the NFC North. They've been playing really good football recently. So, is it really possible to see those two teams make a deep run and play in the NFC Championship game with one of those teams making the Super Bowl?
They're both good football teams, and I think they very, very much have the chance to do it. Both their quarterbacks are playing at a really high level, and when you're doing that, you're always giving yourself a chance. They're also playing really good football teams who are playing really well. So that's what makes playoff football so exciting is every team that plays believes they can make it because they're there for a
Yeah.
reason. And the margin is so small as well. It's a play here, it's a play there, and you feel that tension on every snap. And it's a great product, and I'm looking forward to watching it. As hard as it is to be on the couch and not be a part of it, it should be a great several playoff games up ahead.
Yeah, speaking of that, unfortunately, your season came to an end early with your Achilles injury, and then the Vikings just came up short and missing the playoffs. But for your injury, how's the rehab process going? And will you be ready to go once off-season workouts begin?
Yeah, everything's trending in the right direction. I do think that off-season workouts will time up well for me to be able to get back out on the field and be a part of team drills, which is exciting to think about because it doesn't feel like that long ago that I was walking off the field or hopping off the field and knew my season was over. So everything's trending in the right direction, and I'm excited to see how it all unfolds in the next few months.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of talk about your future in the NFL. But ultimately, do you see yourself returning to Minnesota for the 2024 season and beyond?
I think it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Yeah.
What's very interesting is it really doesn't start. The conversations don't start until March because there's
Yeah.
so much that has to get figured out with the playoffs, the Super Bowl, the coaching staffs all have to get reset, and then you kind of start to look at, okay, where are we going? Where are we drafting? The combine, and that's kind of then when you start to see a clearer picture of how things are shaking up. So we'll just have to get to March and see where it goes from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you do return to Minnesota, how confident are you that the Vikings can make another run like you did in 2022, where you finished the regular season 13-4, came up short in the playoffs, but you were one of the top teams in the NFL.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think the pieces are there. I think that there's some good continuity, and uh, certainly feel like you have the horses, if you will, to make a serious run.
Of course. And before the 2023 season began, fans got to look at you at a different light with the Netflix series Quarterback. It was you, Patrick Mahomes, and Marcus Mariota. Uh, how was it filming that docu-series and just the overall experience of filming a reality show?
I really enjoyed it. I was nervous going into it if it would be time consuming or really intrusive into our life, but I found it to be a real positive. I enjoyed the experience and being able to tell our story. I thought they edited it really well and told the story really well, and it helped that our season had a lot of exciting moments. And I don't think it could have gone any better than it did. I would have loved to finish with a Super Bowl trophy, but outside of that, it was a great season to chronicle.
Yeah, and the series was number one on Netflix for it seemed like a while. Did you expect the docu-series to take off the way that it did?
It's a good question. I was wondering if people are so football crazy that the Netflix documentary would almost be old news. That people would say,
Mm,
"Well, we already have followed their seasons. We already know all that happens." And I was interested to see just how much of our story would be a surprise to people. And what I was pleased to hear was a lot of fans had no idea much of what we do behind the scenes. And I think that was
mm.
the beauty of the documentary, was telling our story away from where it's normally told. And then not to mention Netflix's reach internationally, where it was people I've heard from people in other countries who aren't able to follow American football the same way that we do here. And the Netflix documentary gave them an ability to see things that they otherwise wouldn't get to see.
Of course, absolutely. And one last question for me before I let you go is, for the 2024 season, obviously your number one goal is to lead the team to a Super Bowl, but what are some of the other things you would like to accomplish for next season?
Well, like you said, being able to hold up that Lombardi is the ultimate goal. Certainly want to get my Achilles back to where I can practice and play and not even remember that I tore it because it
Mm,
feels so good. So that's certainly one goal. Um, and I'm sitting here in January talking to you, and next year I'd like to be sitting in January playing playoff football. So
hmm.
that's another longer goal that I want to get to. But I think right now it's just the baby steps of the Achilles making progress and healing up well, and getting my body and my mind ready again for another time around the track. And I'm excited for what's up ahead in my football career, and I think there's a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, definitely should be a lot of fun. Well, Kirk, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah.
Have fun in Las Vegas and good luck to you next season.